Hey, it's Josh here. I just want to take a quick second before we get started to express our gratitude and appreciation to anyone who's listening, whether you're consuming this by download, whether you're listening on our website or following us on Instagram or TikTok, however that is. We thank you. Doing that lets us know, hey, that there's somebody out there. And as long as we're entertaining one person, then it just makes everything worth it. So on behalf of myself and everyone here at Game Rage, thank you. All right, now enjoy the show. Welcome to the dumbest smart guy podcast on the planet. This is the Central Unintelligence Podcast. Okay, and here we are for episode number 6 of the Central Unintelligence Podcast. The only podcast where you can learn about things that are probably not accurate. And also...
That's accurate.
And also, that's the most accurate thing that will be said during this podcast. And also, where you can talk or hear 3 amateur historiologists talk.
Historiographers,
I don't remember which one it was now, but anyways, yeah. So, anyways, I'm Josh, as usual, and I'm here today with Adam.
Howdy.
And I'm here also with Frank.
What's up?
And today, Frank had sent us a video to watch.
All kinds of wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely thought it was all kinds of wrong. Anyways, he had sent us this video, and it was about the U.S. Getting attacked, or the world turning against us, and it being basically 1v everyone, right? Us versus the world. And so there were some things that I thought in this video that were hopeful, wishful thinking, as Adam put it earlier. One of which was the rules of it were just dumb. I didn't like the rules because if the U.S. was ever under attack, right, by everyone else, if the whole world turned on us, the first rule of the video was nuclear weapons are off the table. Well, I'm telling you right now, nuclear weapons are probably the first option when everyone in the entire world turns against us. As they should be, because what's the point of having nuclear weapons if you're not actually going to use them, right? I get it, it's a deterrent, but if literally the whole world said, you know what, United States, we're tired of your shit and we're going to do something about it, we'd say, cool, let me flip this cover off the button switch and then let me put the key in and I'm just going to hit the button. You guys want to try it? You want to fuck around and find out? Because that's what's about to happen. So that to me already, the video was already, I already got lost on the video, but I still did watch the rest of it.
I watched about half of it and then I stopped.
Yeah, I mean,
not that I am any type of military or yes, military astrologist, a military strategist or anything like that. But I'm like, this is all horseshit, dude. I don't even know how they expect to. Like, the first thing they were going to do was go to the Middle East and just assume that we're going to take out all, like, oil fields or, like, cargo ships with oil or some shit. And I guess there is a point about them, like, us having our, our airplanes or whatever the fuck they're called.
Right, the Air Force. Or our Air Forces.
Our best class weapons would be against their shit, which is, like...
Their shit's like decades behind ours.
Yeah, they have like what would they say they had F-15s and we have what F-35s? Is
yeah,
that what it was?
Yeah, our F-35s is what we would be probably is what they were saying the main I guess force would be, or aircraft force would be.
So I guess that was like it was supposed to be something like a chokehold for pretty much Europe and Asia for not having either supplied oil to mobilize their armies and shit. But
Well, so on the oil thing, because I was curious because I wanted to know who the biggest oil producers were, right? Because obviously OPEC itself, the coalition of oil producing and enriching countries or whatever the hell that stands for, that group, that cartel produces the most oil. There's no way. But I just wanted to know by country what the top 5 were. So number 1 was the U.S. Okay, it was us. We produce 20 million barrels of oil a day, just out of our own shit that we make here in the United States or the continental U.S. The Saudi Arabians were second with 12 million. Then the Russians, 10 million barrels a day. Canada makes 5 million barrels a day, and so do the Chinese. Okay, so that's the top 5. So if we were to do like what this video said and expend this mass amount of initial resources targeting Middle Eastern oil field to what they would say would be cripple the rest of the world, really, we don't need to cripple the rest of the world. We just need to cripple China, basically. The rest of the world in... What is that? Is that your phone? Huh. Oh. Anyways, the rest of the world could... well, not even the rest of the world, but China and Russia could survive oil-wise off of just basically their own stuff that they make there. Now, yes, I understand that the Middle East has the biggest reserves of oil probably anywhere, but they don't even have... Like, the Saudi Arabians probably have a huge oil reserve, but they don't, like, that they can get out of the ground, but they don't have the capability to produce more than 12 million barrels a day. That's just what they have in capability for production. So if you were to cut that off, let's say you cut off all the Middle East, well, Russia and China could still support themselves militarily with what they produce at home. So yeah, maybe the rest of the world wouldn't have as much fuel and you might hurt some economies, but I just kind of think that going after the Middle East is probably a mistake at the beginning in terms of what the types of resources they were saying. I mean, if it's the rest of the world versus us, my first move, I think, is to call everything back, right? Bring everything back home, get all of our outstanding naval ships and all of our stuff out. Because if our opening salvo is to expend a bunch of resources in aircraft, and we're going to lose, I mean, this is, even though we have better stuff, we're still going to lose a tremendous amount of resources that we would put into it. So my move would be to have all of our destroyers or missile frigates just launch a bunch of missiles at all that infrastructure in the Middle East if you wanted to go that route. But just deplete missiles. Don't send any aircraft. Don't send any, just throw some missiles at it. It'll blow up enough to do the damage or get the desired effect, I think. But then you're going to need to bring everybody else back because we're going to have to go into full defense mode of the country. Because if everyone else is coming after us, and that includes Canada and Mexico too, right? So it would be safe to assume that our borders are no longer going to be safe. So we need to put every resource we have into defending those from a land invasion, which that's what would be coming, I think. And then, like I said, the rest of the video was just a little, I don't know, I feel like it was a little too optimistic in the sense of how that shit would go down. And I definitely I do think we would come out on top, I mean, eventually in the end, because it would just eventually become a war of attrition, and we can support ourselves here within the United States, right? So I do think that eventually they'd probably just back off and just be like, fuck it. They're going to be expending so much money and resources into doing what? Just kicking us out of everywhere? Okay, well, mission accomplished. Now we'll just chill here and just literally stockpile and put massive resources into, creating huge defenses. And then we're literally going to be unstoppable at that point. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I want to know why Frank asked us to watch it. Was it so we can... what is it called? It's not theory. Is it theorycraft?
What do you mean? Like
theory crafting, to come up more realistic scenarios of why we would win it versus this dude's theory.
I don't know, Frank. What was
are we just trying to poke holes in this thing, or did you?
I just thought it was an interesting video for us to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what did you think about the video, Frank?
I thought it was dumb.
Oh, you thought it was dumb?
Yeah, this guy has a history of just talking out his ass. Well, he talks like a politician.
Oh, okay.
He talks like he knows what he's talking about but once you actually break it down and look at it, it's not.
I mean, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, we act like we know what we're talking about.
We do act like we know what we're talking about, but probably.
But we're upfront about the fact that we're stupid.
I guess
That's true.
So what you're saying is that this guy passes it off as oh man, this is a in-depth tactical analysis, a real good look at what would happen.
What if it was actually just bait? Like
clickbait?
I mean, sure, the guy might be, in fact, being facetious with all this shit, right? But he's like,
Yeah.
I don't really care. The thing I care about is the views. And he just made all that for people to argue over it. Like,
And talk about it?
yeah.
Well then fuck man, mission accomplished.
Mission
Good,
acco- yeah.
Not
good,
really, 'cause
good on him.
We haven't mentioned the name of his channel or anything, so.
Well, I mean, I guess, but I mean, we're still talking about it. I mean, well, guess what? He got 3 views because all 3 of us clicked on the goddamn video.
All 3 of us.
All fucking 3 of us watched it. So,
I didn't watch it through YouTube, though.
what'd you watch it on?
I watched it through a reaction video, actually.
Oh man, so you really screwed that guy. Man, that sucks. But what do you guys think would happen? Like, how do you think it would go down
Oh man, I think it'd be like death by 1,000 cuts
for us or for them?
for us.
So, like, give me an example. Give me a.
Well, I mean, like the BRICS thing, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole if they're converting, if every country's trying to convert their reserve currency to something else, which would probably be the Chinese yuan or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, there's that. There's like the financial aspect.
Right.
All right. Well, if you have Indians
Yeah.
and Chinese, which have both respectively, and I don't know if each country has like their entire population is capable of being military ready.
Right.
But even if that's not the case, consider that they have 1 billion people each or more.
True.
So we only have 300 million people or 330 million people. I actually
true.
I don't know what the number is for
Military age fighting males, or
Yeah.
I guess just military age people in general. Because honestly, if it were to be some sort of all out attack against us, it would be everybody would have to be.
Yeah, so I don't even think it would have to be them being so like doing PT. I don't even know what the fuck you do in the military, but to get to the point where they're ready
Ready to fight?
soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if they'd have to complete 100% training. They're just like send waves
I mean,
and
shit,
waves.
man.
And then,
In World War II, I mean, we were literally giving people like 8 weeks of training and then
Get out
sending them
there.
over there. Like,
Yeah, get out there.
And well, we won the war, so I mean, I guess that was good enough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about it where a war of attrition when it comes to bodies isn't a strategy that would work against the United States. That's a strategy that would work for Russia against the Ukraine 100%,
Right. Yeah.
but not against the United States.
Right. Well, because you got to cross too much area to get here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the problem. Is
but there's 2 fronts to fight. There's the West, there's the Pacific,
Right,
and there's the
there's-
Atlantic. That's fucking.
Yes, but remember
That's tough.
we have 11 aircraft carrier groups, 11 active aircraft carriers.
And how many on each side?
However the fuck we want to organize it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, it doesn't really. We could literally put. Okay, that's just aircraft carrier groups. That's not even counting the rest of the entire
That's not the
fucking
missile
Navy.
frigate groups. That's not
mean-
counting hunter gatherers.
We currently have. I think the number was 55 modern nuclear submarines in our like fleet or whatever.
Yeah.
That number alone could shut down the entire shipping lanes of the rest of the world if we felt like it.
Man, but what was all that shit about fucking 2 weeks ago? You were talking about how a fucking a hot air balloon flew over from China
Yeah.
and went under the radar and is spreading.
Well-
Isn't that one of the death by 1,000 cuts? Is
Right.
to
Well,
spread-
okay. I do think that again. And this is the strategy that I think that they're actually using. Is they're using that death by 1,000 cut strategy because it's okay. Let's take the money, right? Let's fuck with the money. Let's see if we could get that going. We'll get
yeah,
that
just
front going.
crash the U.S. dollar. Yeah.
Right, which fucks us at home, causes unrest, causes depression, causes whatever you want to call it. Right. Then you have let's send some more balloons over and let's fuck up their food supply potentially. And you know what? While we're at it, since we've been sending thousands of military age males to come across all their borders undetected, why don't we just go ahead and fucking let's start fucking up their power grid. Let's start doing something with that. Oh man, yeah, that's the only way you're gonna fuck with us is the death by 1,000 cuts, because I tell you what, man, once the lights go out here, I don't know, I feel like that's it.
Yeah. So wouldn't that be one of the weak points for us? Is our power grid is not
hardened or
it's not
secure,
there's
I
no
guess?
security, there's no safeguards for There's no true like safeguard for us to protect ourselves from whatever might happen. Like an EMP, like it could just be a hot air balloon that passes over the Midwest, and it just like boom goes off, and then no power.
Yeah,
Boom.
and then that's it.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
the same thing can be said about all the other countries as well.
right. I mean, okay, so that is true. However, the problem with that is if we get hit first, right? If we get hit first, how does our civilian population, right? I know, and this kind of leads into another topic I was going to talk about a little bit, which is the Zoomers, right? And their capacity or whatever for defending our country, as it were. And so let's say that were to happen. Let's say the power goes out, right? Okay, and it's not coming back on forever or for at least a long, long time. How do people react here? Well, obviously, as we saw during COVID, they'll go and take all the toilet paper fucking that they can. And
I'd like to be on the optimistic side and think that we get a little kumbaya moment going and we all rally together.
Yeah.
Like, because it happened in 9/11 for like a good 2 years where everybody was on the same page.
Right.
Mostly.
And I hope, too, that is what will happen. But the difference is when 9/11 happened, you could still go to the grocery store and get food. You still could go inside and sit in the air conditioning or turn on your heater if it was cold or hot outside, right? If the power goes out, that's not an option. Immediate access to food is now no longer possible. It's no longer a thing. You don't get that anymore. So when people start getting hungry, that's when shit starts to get real. And I know that there's a lot of people, I've seen it on Instagram and TikTok, there's a lot of people that are talking shit about the Zoomers and how they're weak and none of them are men and blah, 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 and all this shit, right? I do think a certain aspect of that might be true, but to be 100% honest, like, I think that every single person has a capacity for violence within inside them. It's just what's the trigger that's going to make it happen. And it's also
PS5s.
Right? Well, as we saw in that one thing.
One of the things I saw was the guy was talking about, like, yeah, Zoomers can't do 100 push-ups or whatever, but these are the same people that are fucking putting a pistol on a drone and flying around with being able to shoot people with it.
Right. So, I mean, there are, and this is the thing, when the power goes out, drones aren't going to be a thing anymore, at least for the normal civilian, right? Because you got to have power to charge that shit up. So that's not an option. But in terms of actual shit going down, I do think that the Zoomers have the capability for sure within them. It's just going to take someone, and this is where I think it could get real interesting, is it's just going to take one fucking person that has a voice or has like a nice way of talking, and then, man, you can get those little bastards to do fucking anything. Because once you set them to a goal, I mean, that is something that they can do very well. Once you set them to a task, or they've proven it themselves, like with the thing of the ingenuity that they can come up with. Oh man, well, we're getting fucked over in this thing. Well, oh nah, I'm gonna make this fucking drone to go kill this guy I'm gonna put a pistol on this drone and make it shoot somebody, so I don't have to go out there and get shot myself or whatever. Cool. The type of shit that they can come up with, they can do it. They have the capacity for it. It's just gonna be what brings it out of them. And obviously, as we've seen with the PS5 thing, with that guy giving away PS5s and then whatever, he ran out or he didn't have enough, or I don't know what the deal was, but people just lost their shit and started fucking beating the shit out of everybody. They were all fighting and going crazy. And that was primarily a group of 18 to, or well, maybe even less than that, maybe even like 16 to 25-year-olds, right? That Zoomer generation. And they had no problem murdering beating the shit out of each other over fucking PS5s. So if they get hungry and there's no food and there's no power and they're fucking miserable, I definitely think that there is a capacity there for that.
There's like a 50-50 of people.
Well, that's technically for everybody, because everybody has the fight or flight instinct.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I do think that capacity exists, and I think a lot of these people that talk shit about that, they're not bringing that into account. They're just saying, oh, they're doing that whole thing where you judge the book by its cover, and you're just saying, oh, look at this little weak bitch. He can't even do 100 push-ups. But like, all right, that doesn't mean that guy. Guess what? Anybody can pull a trigger. It only takes 8 pounds of force to pull a fucking trigger. So it's real easy to do that. And what's it going to take? What's the capacity going to be to push that person to do that? Is it like, oh, if we're invaded here in America, let's just say on the weird off chance that were to actually happen, a land invasion were to take place, Will the Zoomers take up arms? Yeah, I do think they will, because I think they're going to be pissed off that they can't play fucking video games. And what's the reason for that? Well, it's because these assholes are here fucking trying to kill us all. So guess what? Let's eliminate the problem.
What if their Call of Duty strats work?
Like the stats in Call of Duty actually work in real life?
Well, I mean, like their strategies, they like whatever, like the CS:GO stuff where they peek out of the corner. They peek, they get the perfect angle and shit. Like, we're pretty good at that. And I think the terrain would be a big thing too. It's like, okay, once let's talk about like the Atlantic coast, right?
Right, yeah.
Like the Catskills. Is it the Catskills?
The
Mountains?
Appalachians?
The Appalachians and shit, dude. Imagine trying to get through that shit, and you have what number of population, the gun-toting Americans that are out there that know the terrain really well. Like how
800 million registered firearms.
Yeah, imagine trying to get through that shit. And I think the argument is for like how the U.S. would lose, but I think there would be a pretty good fight over that area because.
And look, maybe again, if you just threw enough fucking there's a number. I don't know what the number is. There's always a number, right? There's always a number for how many dudes you could throw. If it's 2 billion fucking people, right, that you threw at us, maybe that's the number, right? Let's just assume for argument's sake that that's the number. And they put together a 2 billion person army, and they came over here, and just that was the number. It was just overwhelming odds regardless of everything, and we just ran out of ammo probably is what would have happened, and then now we're all getting fucked. So yeah, if you were to do that, you could maybe do something. You could maybe take us, but we ain't going down without a fight, though. I'm telling you that. I think a lot of the people that think that we just roll over because people can't get their McDonald's, so they just fucking roll over and just say, I just want whatever the easiest way is to be able to eat McDonald's again. So that's to let the Chinese or the Russians or whoever just rebuild the McDonald's. That's fine. I guess I'll just go with that. I don't think I think that's fucking not an accurate assessment as far as what I can tell. Because
do you think at some point the government would just be like, all right, we need to we need to make our citizens a mobilized army, so they just start handing out guns to everybody in that scenario where it's a global war event that they just decide we're gonna need everybody that we can have. So
yeah,
we need everybody having a gun.
Yeah. Now I think there's one of two things that happens when it comes to that, and I think that yes, that's an option where we say, all right, the government says, hey, you know what? All the stores of rifles and ammo we got, anybody who comes, if you're American, you come and we'll give you whatever the fuck you want, right? That's really the good way to do it. Or there's the second way, which is fucking, unfortunately, if whoever's in charge in the government may be in on this whole thing and want to fucking just, hey, they're getting paid a good amount of money to let this shit go down, well, then they'll do the opposite and say, oh, no, we're just going to stand down or we're going to surrender. And then we get no support from the government outside of maybe some rogue elements that would want to still continue to fight, which hopefully there would be a decent amount of those that would be utilizing government equipment to fight against the enemy, such as aircraft or whatever. Because like they always say that thing about, your AR-15 can't stop a fucking airstrike or whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's true, but it can give me an easy, decent chance, or not an easy chance, but a better chance of winning against some assholes on the ground. And then, hey, maybe I get lucky and maybe there's a contingent of dudes from the Air Force that stuck around and said, we're just going to take our planes and all our shit and we're just going to go and we're just going to do our own fighting ourselves. And hey, maybe they come in and help us out, or help whoever out. You know what I'm saying? Then maybe that would be a decent scenario. But yeah, I think that they either go one of two ways with it. They either say all in, because if it's for the complete and utter fight of survival for America as a nation, that's the right thing to do. That's really the only thing to do, is just to hand the guns out to everybody. Hey, man, woman, child, whatever. If you're a baby, oh, yeah, babies get 200 rounds of ammo and a rifle.
Here's this, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody gets everything. And then that way we would have a fighting chance to survive and come out of this still as our own sovereign nation at the end of it.
What would you say about Mexico pushing on us with people? They're like, the Chinese would court us or court the Mexicans,
yeah,
and say, hey, we know you have a history with the U.S. and we'll make it a sweet deal. We'll give you all the land back that you earned back, or you had back in the days when Texas was part of Mexico and California was part of Mexico and Arizona, all whatever,
yeah,
all that, and you are under the dominion of the Chinese government, and That would be the deal for them, is that they get everything back that they once had.
Well, now you're going to get me going down a fucking rabbit hole, because that kind of is what's kind of sort of happening. And now the government officially, the Chinese tried to go in the past to the government of Mexico and say, hey, we know you got this drug cartel problem. We will fucking eliminate that for you. We will eradicate the drug cartels, and we will ask nothing of you except for one thing. And that's to let us put a permanent military Chinese installation in Mexico. And the Mexicans thought about it. And we had to come in and say, ho, 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 hell no, you ain't doing that. And if you do, you're cut off, all right? We're done with you. And so the Mexican government said, yeah, you know what? Okay, this is fucking stupid. We're not going to do this. So there's a lot of stuff that I've read and seen of full, legit eyewitness reports.
From what?
From sources that were... Okay, so guys...
4chan?
No, not 4chan. I mean, that's where it started, I guess. But I actually have seen dudes that are legitimate Mexican, like, reporters and, like, their media guys down there. And
so this is like... This would be secondhand from you, firsthand from them.
Yeah, firsthand from them, guys that were there that went and said, okay, basically... well, I mean, shit, I can tell you where I heard the first one that I heard was on this guy. His name's Sean Ryan. He has this podcast. It's pretty good. And he had this dude on there that is a Mexican, I don't know, he's like a media guy or whatever. He's like a reporter. And so he's been embedded with the drug cartels before. He's pretty well connected with the cartels. And so they brought him to one of the cookhouses, and they were kind of showing him how this shit works with the Chinese now, because the Chinese have gone and said, okay, we can't get into the government, so now we're going to go to the illicit source, the drug cartel, and we're going to try and get in with them. And so what they've done is, he said the way it works is you go in there, and someone who wants to cook, right, or make fentanyl, basically was the thing that they were specifically saying. He said someone who wants to cook fentanyl for them, they apply or whatever, like it's like a fucking job, you apply. They send a package to your house, they send a guy, and he says, all right, this is how this is going to work. Somebody's going to come in here, they're going to show you how to do this one time. And then you're going to get all the ingredients, we're going to give you everything, and you're going to make it. And then you're going to make it, that guy's going to come back, and he's going to test it. And if it passes, you're in. If it doesn't pass, you get killed. So
how does that work? Is it just because they're teaching you how to cook that if you don't do it right, well, you can just as easily run back and rat these fuckers out? And is that what it is? Like you end up dead?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of they're just preempting the ratting out process by just killing you. If you couldn't make it, then fuck it. We're just gonna kill you.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, if you even mention it to other people, then they're gonna come after
right.
you.
Yeah. So then I figure so then he says the way it goes is they will have a literal, like a Chinese scientist will come in, speaks no English or no Spanish. He literally sits there and he makes it. He said he says the craziest shit. The guy just sits there and he makes the shit, and the guy who's watching is taking notes and he's fucking trying to get everything okay. And then he said he does it. Okay, it's done. The guy says I'm done. He leaves. He tests it, and then he says, okay, this is 100% pure or whatever. You got to get to like 80%, or I don't remember what the number was, but there's a passing like percentage, right? So then they go back, the guy leaves, he starts making his own shit. Then they come back the next day, that Chinese scientist comes back and he says, okay, he puts the dipstick in there or whatever he did to test it, and he does it, and he looks and says, okay, it's passable, so you're good, you're in, and then that's it. So, and the Chinese are supplying them with the raw materials to make the fentanyl, as well as with the scientific expertise to cook it, essentially. Kind of like Breaking Bad style, where they're using science to make illegal drugs. So basically, they're in with the cartel. Now, I don't know what the end goal of that is. A side effect of it is I've seen, I think CNN did a very, very small report on it. It was like it wasn't big, but it was talking about the influx of Chinese nationals crossing the border illegally from Mexico into the United States. And so one of the things that I've seen is some of the pictures that they posted. It's funny. There were no women. There were no children. They were all fit, military-aged males, right? There was just groups of these guys that were just together. And so that could be an angle where the Chinese, this death by 1,000 cuts, right? Well, they got in with the Mexican cartels. They said, hey, in exchange for us doing this for you, you're going to help us funnel our people across the border undetected. And they do it. They go, funnel them across. And then to what end here in the United States, who knows? The Chinese corporations and shell corporations have been known to be purchasing large swaths of real estate, at least here in California. And that's part of the reason why our real estate market is so inflated is because a lot of these foreign Chinese companies are coming in and they're paying cash above asking price, so they get the property. Now, what are they doing with those properties? Who knows? They're just sitting. Are they just sitting? Are they taking a lot of these dudes and just keeping them there and they're holding them over? Are these guys potentially Chinese special forces that have training in subversion and sabotage? And it's been proven already that during the Clinton era, the Chinese government was literally given the entire infrastructure map of our electrical grid. So is that something that they're potentially getting ready for, that when the time comes that those guys are going to be the ones to turn off the stuff? And as far as like getting them equipment goes, the Chinese own basically every port along the west coast of the United States through one shell corporation or another. So would it be very easy for them to come down and say, hey, there's this ship that's coming in, nobody's going to be checking these containers, you're just going to offload them and that's it? And then, okay, that's what happens. They just offload them and they're done. So who knows? I mean, that's kind of getting into some conspiracy theory stuff, but
yeah,
there is some factual basis behind it. That's my theory. That's my personal opinion. Is I think that's probably the purpose of them, because you're not only flooding the American market with fentanyl,
yeah,
but and subverting the American people from being an effective fighting force, or at least a decent chunk of them. If you can get a lot of them addicted to this thing, you take them out of the fight immediately. So there's that aspect of it that could very well be part of it. And also, if they are truly really funneling guys in here, that tells me that they're obviously doing it for a reason. And why would they do it other than to set up potential sabotage, not that I'm saying that they're going to do any kind of like land invasion, because I don't know if that's necessarily feasible. But if you wanted to fuck with us, if the Taiwanese oh man, I got a dry spot in my throat. If the Chinese want to invade Taiwan, right, and they know we're going to do something about it, like we've been amping this up. So pre-Taiwanese invasion, if you turn off our power here, that kind of gives them an opening, to maybe have us not fuck with them, I guess. So I don't know. It's a theory. It's maybe a conspiracy theory. It's definitely not based in any. It's based in a minute amount of fact that I am then drawing conclusions from. So take for it what you will. But
I mean, it's like playing chess or whatever.
Kind of, yeah.
Where you're trying to predict the movements of pieces,
right?
Which would be, I guess, in this conversation, countries,
right? Yeah,
and how they would move. But it's hard to say if all these cartels. I mean, obviously they're interested in making money, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they're distributing this fentanyl to the U.S. But
right.
To say that the Chinese are involved, like I don't know about that, because I mean, they don't need any extra incentive to fucking do what they do, because they're already getting paid. Like, that's what they care about. So what, unless seizing land is like part of their move.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think in my conspiracy theory in my head, right, is that the Chinese know that if they were to cause some sort of destabilization here, right? Like, let's say shutting off the power grid or fucking it up. Then they know that America becomes vulnerable. And if the Chinese aren't going to be able to move in and take land themselves, well, if you could give the cartels the go-ahead to just come in and start doing what they do in Mexico, but just do it here in Southern California, Southern Texas, Southern Arizona, New Mexico, just start doing shit like that there, well, now we're going to have to send not just federal police resources down there, but we're gonna have to send military resources to rein that in, right? So therefore, taking some of our military resources out of the fight against China, because they're gonna have to deal with that, because no civilian police force in the United States can take on the drug cartels and have a chance of winning. It's just not. They're too well armed, and there's just too many of them. And there's not enough cops in the U.S. to deal with it. So we're gonna have to send in the military resources to deal with it. And if you do that, maybe that could possibly be the reason for why they're getting in bed with the cartels. Essentially, is because the Chinese government knows we'll get what we want one way or another, right? They'll get what they want, whether they do it with America or whether they do it with whether they do it with the Chinese or the Mexican government or with the cartels. It doesn't really matter. They'll get it done. So, what do you think about that, Frank? As your what's your theory on that?
Pretty much the same. Like, I don't. Like, I don't think a land invasion is ever gonna work unless, like, they both Canada and Mexico said, "All right, let's invade now."
Yeah.
And on top of that, China's all right, cool. We'll back you up. It's gonna take too much time without us noticing. It ain't gonna happen.
Right.
At least from what I've seen, what we can do with our espionage department.
Yeah.
Because saying that we found out that their budget alone is bigger than Russia's entire GDP.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's likely that they can ever form an alliance without us noticing to catch us off guard.
Right.
And even if they hit the grid, like you said,
Yeah.
all our ships are nuclear powered. They don't need to be charged or anything or be refueled.
Well, no, that's true. I'm not saying that that's going to affect our military operations. I'm just saying it's going to destabilize us here at home. It's going to destabilize
I
our
say yes,
civilian
it is going to destabilize, but we're going to take everyone else with us.
No, that's true. Yeah. No, I do think if that were to happen and certain elements of the government are not in bed with this plan, I guess, as some say, I think that, yeah, that's the choice. Is you just got to say, well, you guys wanted to fuck us up here? All right, well, I guess we're just hitting this button then. It's just setting it all off. So,
say there's that one dude on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about and I forgot what he was, but it's like he was part of the espionage and like he was part of the whole department, the whole Langley department.
yeah.
And straight up asked him, like, do you think Putin would ever drop bombs on Ukraine? He says if his life is in danger, he will 100% push that button. But the question is the guy down the road going to push the button? Is the guy down after that guy going to push the button? Because the way Russia has him, it's a huge level of checks and balances. And from what he's saying, that no, we don't think they're all going to agree with him. Because if his life's in danger, but then you're telling the Russians, hey, put the rest of your families in danger, are you going to do it?
That they won't do it, yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen it happen already with the whole the Soviet submarine, where the guy refused the order when it was a mistaken order, like it wasn't actually sent out by the
Russian government.
but the guy who was in charge, and he thought, no, this is fishing. We ain't launching it.
Yeah.
So it's already happened.
So there's already a precedent for them not doing it when they're technically given the order.
Yes.
So, I mean, that also kind of makes you wonder about here, too. What would happen if you know, would they push the buttons, too? Because that's kind of how it is here. Like, if you just because you push the button, yeah, another guy has to actually
The guy was
launch the
talking
missile.
about that. So inside the bunker, you're saying that, yeah, there's two guys that have to insert
Right.
their keys, turn it at the same time, and push the button.
Yeah.
There's also a guy right behind them watching them with a gun saying, all right,
Push the button.
push the button.
Yeah. So then it takes basically three people to agree.
No, it just takes the guy with the gun to agree.
I guess that's true.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that clip from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when he finds the flare gun and they're trying to take it away from him. He goes, no. Why should I give you guys the flare gun? He goes, well, I personally don't think anyone should have a gun. He goes, well, I think I'm the safest, so I should have the gun. And the charge like, well, I have the gun. So end of conversation.
I mean, that is a very true point. That's very true. Yeah. I mean, he has the gun.
Who's the person that actually pushes the button?
The president of the United States.
So the president pushes the button which sends out the order. It doesn't actually launch.
So it's like
missiles.
a figurative thing?
No,
Yeah.
like nobody, like, say it goes to him, then it goes to NORAD, then it goes to the actual technicians that are supposed to do it. None of that gets initiated without the president pushing the football.
Well, yeah, I think they're actually called nuclear warfare officers. I think that's actually like what their military title is, their MOS or whatever. And those are the guys that literally sit there, and they're one of the two guys that's got the key, and then they got to actually stick it in, verify the codes or whatever.
Well, and then
What do
on
the
a
codes do?
The codes are the authorization. So
yeah.
So when the nuclear sub gets the authorization code, the captain, all right. So they have a special safe. They open it. They both have their key card. The XO and the CO have to both do it. Then they both get the codes, and then he'll call for the what's it called? The communication officers. Repeat codes. He goes, Alpha, Sigma, Delta, Bravo,
whatever the code is,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then and they have to read. They read it out to each other while they're looking at their cards to make sure their codes are matching up with that. And once that's been verified,
all that does is that verifies that the order is real. That it came from the actual president of the United States or whoever the authorized person is to give you the code, right? That all that confirms is that this order is real. That's it. Then it's still up to them to actually target
Them?
Yeah, the actual officer.
if they choose not to do it, then it's, and since they're on a naval ship, it's a straight up act of treason.
Oh, it is a straight up act of treason. So then, if the captain says no, I'm not going to do this, then the XO can say, okay, take out his gun, and he's pointing his hand at, or pointing at him and saying,
You're relieved of command.
You're relieved of command. I am now in charge. And then he can do it if he wants. Or if the XO maybe disagrees, or if anybody else disagrees, and it's a number of people, they could mutiny and then say, no, we're not going to do this, and then you'd have a whole fucking messy situation on your hands, I guess. But I guess that's to know. Well, it's never obviously happened before. In terms of, okay, a real order to launch nuclear missiles has been issued.
At least on the American side.
Well, yeah, on our side, right? That hasn't happened yet. So we don't know what would actually happen.
Well, there was that one TV show, the one with the naval sub.
Oh yeah, man, that was a good show.
Mm-hmm. The gay guy, they had the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, yeah, he was the captain or whatever, yeah. And then basically that was what the whole gist of the show was, that they got the order to launch the nukes. And they fucking said no.
It came from instead of coming, it didn't come through the main line through NORAD.
Yeah,
it came through the emergency, like, oh, the U.S. communication system is down line, like Morse code, whatever. Like it came through some kind of weird system, and it turned out it was right. They shouldn't have. They did the right thing, but they did do treason because they started launching nukes against the U.S. and shit.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, so I mean, who knows? Who knows what the fuck would happen in that scenario? Maybe stay tuned and we'll find out. I don't know. I mean, maybe that'll eventually happen.
I just wonder if it's. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Lost, but the guy that would sit. I don't know what the fuck he did because it's been a while since I've seen the show. But the guy's name was Desmond, and he would just literally watch numbers, and he was supposed to press certain buttons in order for the world that they were trapped in or whatever island they were on. It was to maintain that the island wouldn't. Well, he didn't know what would happen, but imagine being like one of those. What are they called? Nuclear
warfare officers.
Nuclear warfare. Imagine you're just chilling your whole time, like all the time, and then. Like, how do they measure? Is it just like they have a doomsday clock and it's like, oh, we're getting closer, 1 minute? Like,
the doomsday clock isn't it just a figure of speech?
Well, it's like a thing that scientists put together to determine.
Yeah, but
how
I mean, in the term for the military, like,
I don't think that's actually even a real thing.
Yeah, as I was saying, like, it's just a figure of speech.
I think you just sit there and you're just like, oh god,
the order comes through, and then, I mean, there's that moment where the order comes through, and you're like,
oh fuck, is this real? You know, I mean, I'm sure.
Are you gonna shit yourself?
Imagine waiting for that moment your whole life. You're like, I hope this day never comes.
Well, and then think about it though too, okay? Because if you look at military indoctrination, right, the way that they do it, and I'm sure that they practice, they do drills all the time. I've seen it on like the History Channel where they go inside there and they do the drill where they put the key in, and they're so desensitized to doing the actual movements of the button, of launching the missile, right? Because they do it probably thousands of times during their career. So when you get to the point of the thing actually coming in and then you do it, are you even thinking about it at that point, or are you just like, oh shit?
Did you ever hear about the ship that whatchamacallit?
Well, I mean, I guess you've already been conditioned, so
right.
Well, I was saying that there's a ship, the luckiest ship in the U.S. fleet. Mm-hmm. There were a bunch of ships that were escorting all the people all the Allied leaders. They were escorting them to sign the
surrender
of Japan, and all this shit, and basically they were doing drills, and one of the orders was no radio communications, but that was like that was an order, that was a standing order from the beginning, that they can't have no radios, just flaps, the lights, because radio communication will give up the position, and then they can get hit,
right.
So they're doing just a regular, they sent out like a bunch of hot air balloons and just started shooting it. And this ship fucked up. I forgot what they did. They accidentally dropped a mine or something and it blew up.
Oh, shit.
And so they're like, oh, we got to do good at this exercise to, like, make up for it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they were shooting down all the hot air balloons. They're showing how good they were at AA shit. And so what they do is they always de-armed the torpedoes. So they send the technician, all right, de-arm the torpedoes so we can, do the dry fire scenario with the torpedoes. And so he goes, all right, cool. Goes out there, tells the bridge, all right, cool. They're disarmed. Cool. All right, we got the target lined up, and the target they were using was the actual ship that FDR was on.
Oh, shit.
And it's like, or not, wasn't FDR at that point? Was it Truman towards the end of it?
Honestly, I don't remember. But
Whatever. I think it was FDR because they had to install a hot tub into that naval ship for his treatments.
Oh.
And so they're saying, all right, we'll use that ship as our target. And they're saying, all right, launch torpedo number 1. Launch torpedo number 1. No, nothing happens. Launch torpedo number 2. All right. Launch torpedo number 2. Nothing happens. Cool. Well, might as well, since we have 3 torpedoes. Launch torpedo number 3. Torpedo takes, wait, what? And it's just straight up launch the torpedo and they hit the ship.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, they were so ingrained in the fact that it was just a drill.
Yeah.
That the guy's like, no, we were only supposed to disarm 2.
Damn. So what happened? Did it blow up on the ship or what?
Yeah, it hit the ship, but the same thing ship.
Oh.
So then they had to report, no, that was us. Sorry.
Oh, damn. God, just imagine getting your ad. You'd be fired for sure. Mm-hmm. Fucking doing that. God damn.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't, not to say that I wouldn't want to continue this conversation at a later point, but you did have other things in mind besides the U.S. getting infiltrated by the world.
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, because it's a current event. I do want to talk about the Burning Man thing a little bit.
All right,
because
in addition to that, like, how many other topics did you have?
That was
so
it.
We could try to.
That was it. That was it.
Okay.
So I mean, we've been going for 45 minutes. So I mean, if we can get 15 minutes out of this, then we're good. But I think we could get a little more out of that because
Just before you continue.
All right.
What was your honest to God reaction when you first heard about it?
The Burning Man thing?
Yeah.
I fucking shit myself because fucking obviously Katie's going to the other thing soon, and I'm like, God damn it, of course.
I had that, and my reaction was, I don't know if you guys ever watched Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers scene where the orcs are coming and they're at Minas Tirith, like getting ready for the onslaught, and Gimli is trying to jump or like trying to get a view because he's too short to look over the barricade.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's happening? And Legolas says, I can carry you or get you a stool. Yeah. Just starts doing that. I can't mimic that laugh, but that was my reaction where I was like,
yeah. I mean, it was funny too. I mean, I will say that it's because I don't know, man. It's just shit. You go out into the middle of the desert, do a bunch of drugs, and then all of a sudden, now you're stuck in the mud and you can't fucking get out because it rained for a couple of days. But one of the weird things that kind of came out of it was there was these reports, and I, again, don't know, didn't hear this on 4chan, okay? Just people that were there on Instagram posting things. Guys, this is why I heard this. And there were reports that there was some sort of...
Yeah, here's the laugh.
What's happening out there? Shall I describe it to you? Or would you like me to find you a box?
I don't know if you guys could hear it.
Yeah,
I heard it.
So there were these weird reports that there was some kind of a disease that was spreading out there. And so...
Yeah, it's called STDs.
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, yeah, you're probably right.
It was gonorrhea.
It was all the diseases, man. Chlamydia. But people were saying that it was this like hemorrhagic type fever that was like people were throwing up blood. And I mean, listen, that just could be from drinking.
That sounds like
drugs all the time.
horseshit, dude.
I know,
But-
but I saw an article the other day. They were talking about that. It was the what's it called? Where it was mass hysteria, where somebody had
Right.
symptoms and everybody just started pretending like they
Right.
had
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw that too. So I'm just saying though, what was funny was how when something like that happens, the way that shit gets spread around and the information that comes out wrong, some of it may be right, but people that are there giving these quote unquote firsthand accounts of, oh man, I saw this and this, but then it turns out, well, it was probably just bullshit in the end, right? How does that? Is it people? Do you think it's people that are like trying to get attention, and they're just like
not to say that it's a documentary, but there's this medical show called House. In one of the episodes, they were somebody got really, really fucking sick and like was dying on a plane, and then people started mirroring the symptoms.
Yeah.
So everybody was getting it except for the main character, House, and a couple other people. And like his boss also got it. And she was getting sick, throwing up, and all that crap. And then the way the show works is like, he's like, "Oh God, what's happening? Insult, insult. Oh, I got an idea. That's it." And so it was at the point where he got the idea. He's like, and so he starts making fun of everybody for being stupid. He's literally just making fun of people saying that they're not sick and stuff. And the lady's like, "What do you mean? I'm throwing up. You're dry heaving. Man, my hand's shaking." "Yeah, a shaking right hand. What does that mean?" And then you see at that point his boss, who's like who's also a doctor. She like, you just see like she takes a deep breath, and she's like, "Okay, yeah," and like she's back to normal because like it was supposed to talk about it was mass hysteria because what the original guy who had it, he had the bends.
Oh, that was it. So it was nothing.
He had you know what the bends is, right?
Yeah.
So normally it's bad, but put yourself 30,000 feet in the air, it makes it much worse.
Right. Yeah.
So once he figured out it was the bends, and then he, as an asshole, makes fun of everybody to make them realize, hey, you're not fucking sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody literally just snapped out of it. So it's not just attention grabbing. I'm not saying it is, but
it could be some of that where people are just mass hysteria.
I think it's telephone too.
Yeah, I was about to say telephone. Again, another show. I know you've seen MASH, right?
Yeah.
Remember when they ran out of pain medications and everybody was still they prescribed placebos, but they made it seem like it was the most powerful drug that it was like an experimental painkiller.
Yeah.
And even one guy's like, "It's not doing anything. All right, I'll give you one more, but I can't give you any more to that because it could kill you." And all it was just sugar pill. And literally, the next scene, they're all fucking dead asleep.
It's psychological.
Yeah,
that's interesting too because it makes you. I don't know. It makes me wonder about because one of the things that came out about it was that people were saying that it was this Marburg virus. All right, is what they were saying. And
flesh eating disease.
No, it's not. I don't think it's flesh eating. I think it's like Ebola, but like worse or some shit. It's the one that Bill Gates has been talking about and saying that the mosquitoes.
The one you mean the one he? Hold on, let me put on my tin hat. You mean the one he released?
Yeah. But I wonder if that's like people that have been conditioned and heard that, and then now they see something that maybe is potentially, because there were like actual people that were going on there and saying this full scientific explanation for how this virus lays dormant in the dirt and then blah blah blah, and the rain activated it and brought it to life, and then
on this particular day, oh my god,
yeah, right. It's like what the fuck, like what in the fuck, man?
I don't believe it.
I don't either, but it's just like
I'm saying it's just mass hysteria,
I guess, but.
And it's just, let's be honest, the people going to Burning Man are not exactly the people who are
reputable.
Not reputable, but they're not. They're the majority of them are the people that are like attention seekers.
Yeah. So they're stuck there in the mud. They can't leave for fucking who knows how long.
Hey,
so you might as well.
How can I make this about me?
That's true. So then that kind of brings us back to the point of before about the thing. What do you think would happen? Do you think that would play into effect of some sort of mass hysteria if like something happened here, right? Because that's an example on a small scale, right?
Like
it's a very local.
It seems like people are pretty civil for.
If I can use my family as the experiment for this thought experiment, for the example of this thought experiment, if it was my mom. And I got this hypochondriac. Can't say that word.
Hypochondriac.
Yeah, disease. And I start showing the symptoms, and I start playing it out and all this stuff. I would get 3 days max before there'd be some kind of violence. And if I wasn't sick, I'm not gonna be sick after that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm legitimately sick, then yeah, I'm gonna be out and I'm gonna be like. Or more likely, goddamn, why? And I'm gonna be, okay, yeah, I'm not good. In the sense, like, yeah, I'm not gonna in that expense, my mom would hit me if she thinks I'm faking it.
Right.
Where, let's just say it's my oldest sister, I would get yelled at, then hit, then yelled at again. And then once I get my shit together, then she's going to put me in the hospital. For real. So it's more in the situation like, it's going to last it depends on your environment. In my environment, bullshit doesn't last very long.
Right.
In the environment that the people of Burning Man are coming from, i.e. a coddling environment where everyone justifies everything for you, yeah, everyone's going to get sick. Because why not?
Yeah, I can see that.
So in the sense of, what was the original question?
Well, I was just saying that was on a microcosm sort of level of something happening, right?
Oh yeah, it'll probably cripple, like Los Angeles, New York for a while, but like the heartlands and places like that, where okay, you can be out for a couple of days, but I need you on that hayfield.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that you were saying if that were real,
If it was a hypochondriac
situation,
yeah. If it was a legit virus outbreak, then yeah, that's obviously a different story. But in the situation of this whole hypochondriac thing,
yeah, I was just saying like if that hypochondriac thing kind of happened on a maybe more of a large scale,
it would last in the major cities, but I don't think it would last in the heartlands or the small towns.
What about you? What do you think, Adam?
I don't know.
Adam doesn't.
I don't know. I really don't care for this Burning Man thing. To be honest, I could give two shits.
Yeah, I mean, neither do I. I don't really care either. But I just thought it was an interesting.
Like
It was interesting to see people fucking react.
it feels like whatever media was being written, whatever mainstream media was writing about what was happening, it seems like it was as much as anything that is written in the news is sensationalized like tenfold to make it seem like it's
Way worse.
so much worse. And I don't know, man. I was reading, not to say, I don't know. I was reading subreddits about like that particular scenario, and people were saying, like, I mean, for whatever people, small sample that had phones that were working, they're saying, oh, it's not as bad as everybody's making it out to be.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, there's mud, we can't leave, but we got food and we got everything, and it's not. But they're not losing their shit.
how do people not go there with that type of vehicle in mind?
Well, I think that like people were just those vehicles, off-road vehicles, were getting stuck. Like that was the whole thing because the mud was so deep and it was so thick that everything was getting stuck. Like there was just no like you could walk out. That was basically it.
Well, there's that VanTuber I follow. Literally, he ran into the same situation where he ran into the desert and he got, and all he did was get the fucking boards that you're supposed to have, puts it on the front ones, 5 feet. Yeah, you're only moving 5 feet at a time before you need to put another board on, but he's moving.
Yeah, I guess people didn't. Well, I mean, I don't know how often does it rain at Burning Man? Probably never. That's why probably this happened, right?
Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have
Oh
it.
yeah, listen, I agree. But again, those type of coddling people don't necessarily think that way, do they? I would say. So I don't know. Anyways, all right. Well, that was pretty much it I had on that. Did you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
Wait, that was all you had?
Yeah, that's all I had for.
Well, what's the situation with the Peruvian aliens?
Well, the gold miners, you mean?
Yeah,
we
gold
talked about that already.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Did you have any additional?
No, there's been no further updates on the thing, and I'm a little disappointed because I was hoping to see some sort of a video of somebody using a jetpack to pretend to be an alien, or whatever the fuck they were pretending to be.
Yeah.
Because that would be cool. I think that I would like to see what sort of technology they were also using in these jetpacks or whatever the fuck it is. Because if some Peruvian gold miners can fucking make a jetpack, I think we could maybe make our own version of it potentially. So,
What a shame, dude! If the U.S. is being outclassed by fucking gold miners or whatever the fuck they are,
Well,
like imagine if they mastered flight, like
they've mastered jetpack technology.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you heard about the Australian drones.
No.
the what?
The Australian drones that they just gave to Ukraine.
No.
They're completely made out of cardboard.
Oh, really?
And as it sits right now, we have no idea if our radar can pick them up.
Google Cardboard, dude. Like Google drone cardboard.
Is
Google cardboard drones.
Yeah, does cardboard show up on radar?
Well, I don't know. I remember I was talking about the fat electrician when he was talking about the mosquito,
Uh-huh.
and everybody was giving this guy shit because everybody was making their bombers huge and out of metal with all these guns, and this one guy's like, no, let's just make it out of wood, make it the fastest fucking thing on the planet, and have it only drop bombs. And it ended up fucking working. And one of the fucking side effects, happy coincidences. Hey, it turns out wood doesn't come up on radar.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So cardboard drones.
I feel like watching I forgot what they call it. There's millions of subreddits, but man, the precision of which people are getting killed with fucking drones, that is terrifying, dude.
Oh yeah, man, and it's merciless too because there's no
The human element has to be
Can't
moved out
hide
of it.
unless you're fucking underground.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're like looking through a rifle scope at somebody and you have to pull the trigger, like there's still that moment of like maybe you'll feel something or maybe something will happen and like you'll miss or whatever. But man, those drones. I feel like once they lock, because I've seen some of those videos too, and I feel like once it's like got you in the sights, that's it. You're dead. Like there's no stopping it. It's coming, and you're gonna die.
Yeah, I've seen like, they find where there's a trench where there's Russian soldiers and shit, and you just see this thing fucking hovering. And
those aren't even our drones. Those are just fucking Walmart drones that they modified to drop grenades.
Well, I don't know, man. It's just wild because, I mean, we've already kind of talked about it, but the thing of some of the Russian soldiers just straight up surrendering, I'm like, that's the telegraph. That's telegraphing the future, dude. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, basically.
PMCs, like all kinds of robotics and shit.
Cardboard drones, a weapon to surpass Metal Gear.
That's a real highlight of this fucking podcast. I didn't know at what point we were gonna have.
That's the clip right there.
Yeah.
That's the audio clip for the fucking thing. Cardboard drones, a weapon to surpass.
I didn't know at what point we were gonna get that meme in this fucking podcast.
But it was gonna happen.
It was gonna happen, and I'm so happy it did.
Every episode, man.
Cardboard drones, a weapon to surpass Metal Gear.
I mean, shit, man. Cardboard, a technology that is like from the 1800s. I don't know when did they invent cardboard. Fucking ridiculous now, and it's massive, excellent technology now. Cardboard technology.
Well, remember World War II where they tried to make a ship out of pyrite?
No, I don't remember that one.
Where it's just wood pulp that was frozen. It's literally frozen wood pulp.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny in the demonstration for it to show how strong it is.
Mm-hmm.
They got a piece of wood, shot it with the gun, and the fucking wood exploded. They got a piece of pyrite, which was the wood pulp frozen. They shot it. The thing didn't even dent it. It ricocheted and hit one of the investors.
Damn.
And everyone's like, "Oh shit, he got hit." Success.
Yeah, sign me up for that. Damn.
So it's funny. Like a lot of crazy shit comes out. Again, necessity is the mother of invention. And what was it? It took them less than a week to turn regular drones into fucking grenade delivering war crimes.
Yeah.
And makeshift flamethrowers, not like World War II would go like 100 meters, but certainly still effective to just burn what's in front of them.
Yeah.
But I don't.
You do realize you're talking about making improvised flamethrowers to the guy who spent 2 years of his high school career trying to make a super soaker flamethrower.
I did successfully make flamethrowers.
Allegedly.
Right? Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah. So because these people, I don't remember exactly what the Ukrainians were using as like the combustive source.
Yeah, the accelerant.
Propane and propane accessories.
But World War II, was it a jelly or like?
Yeah, it was like
napalm.
It was like a petrol. Well, that's what napalm is. It's like a petroleum like jelly. That is, it's liquid
because it had to keep because it
Yeah.
kept burning. Like
it's a flammable liquid, in this case gasoline, and there's some kind of substance to make it sticky, which according to that one book that we're not allowed to talk about, styrofoam.
Yeah, you theoretically like could do it with that, and that's
because with styrofoam, all you got to do is touch the liquid, and it starts to melt and become.
It becomes like this
syrup.
sticky syrup, but it's still viscous enough to where you can shoot it out of something, and then it just fucking goes. And once it's on you, and that's the thing. That's what was so effective about it is once it hit you, that's it. You are not. It's not going out until whatever it's on is not in existence anymore.
And
So
then
you
we
basically had to strip naked to.
then we made something
yeah,
even
to
worse.
save
No,
you.
not even that.
Well, if it got on your hand or like if it got on your skin,
Like you ever seen that movie We Were Soldiers where the guy got on his cheek and the guy literally was cutting it off with.
You had to cut it off of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fucked up. That's terrible.
Well, we made something worse called white phosphorus,
Oh yeah.
and once that shit got on you,
That's it.
That's
Like-
it.
So I know we kind of talked about what is it? Some of the
War crimes.
yeah war
Hey,
crimes.
it's never a war crime the first time.
Something like what is it? The Geneva Convention.
Geneva suggestions, yes.
Yeah.
Suggestions, yeah. Because what are some things that are like just
Flamethrower.
prohibited?
Oh no, not flamethrowers. Flamethrowers were specifically allowed.
Allowed. Yeah.
Shooting down medics. That's against the Geneva Convention.
What about journalists too? Right?
Nobody in any convention is going to protect a journalist.
Yeah. I don't know if that's on there.
Well, because most of the journalists in wars were part of the branches.
Oh,
So-
that's true.
Yeah. What was it? Shooting paratroopers
Why?
when they're coming down when their parachutes engage. It's a war crime to shoot at them
But I don't know. I guess I just don't understand.
because they're defenseless. There's no way that they can fight back.
So you need to give the other side a chance to fight back by letting paratroopers fall.
Again, we're probably the only country that will follow these rules.
They're too nice.
Yeah, we are. I mean, basically, the Geneva Conventions were mainly for prisoners of war. Was like
Yeah.
it was to
And the
treat-
main
make sure
the
that
main
they
reason
stay
for
alive.
that parachute one it was less for paratroopers but more for pilots that ejected. So
Yeah.
it's a war crime to try to shoot somebody down who's ejected from a plane.
Because it's hard to imagine that anybody would have any kind of civility when it comes to war. Like,
Well, that's why they're jokingly referred to as the Geneva Suggestions because
yeah.
Well, remember we talked about how the U.S. is one of the only branches where taking out the officer is the bad idea because the officer is the only one that's going to be like, no, that's against the law.
Well, and then because think about this too. I mean, okay, the Geneva Convention is only as good as people are willing to enforce it. So.
And we're the only ones willing to
What are you
enforce
going to
it.
do? You're going to go, okay, say two countries are fighting each other and someone's violating the Geneva Convention. What are you going to go to the fucking Hague and fucking have a war crimes trial? They don't need to show up. Who's going to serve them with the paperwork and who's going to make sure that they go?
Hey,
Nobody.
if it's somebody that pissed us off, we will.
Sure, if it's us and we wanted to we did it, yeah, we would make you go, but
Remember, because the Geneva Convention happened after World War One or two.
I think it was after World War One.
Yeah. Because remember, the Germans were notorious for using chemical weapons.
Right, that's another thing that's like
Chemical warfare.
banned.
That makes
Yeah.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, is
And they try to say that. And then once we entered the war, we brought in a brand new type of weapon that had never been used before to that effect called a shotgun, otherwise known as a trench gun.
To just obliterate a
Because in
box.
trench warfare, a shotgun is goddamn devastating.
yeah, it's like the most effective thing you could do.
It was literally called a trench gun because of how fucking effective it was.
Yeah.
So the Germans petitioned the U.S. saying, no, these are war crimes. And we're like, motherfuckers using gas warfare? No, we ain't taking that shit from you. And then they said, well, if any of your soldiers are caught with the gun or with the shells for that gun, they're going to be executed. Cool, we'll start executing your war prisoners. Last time I checked, we have more than you.
Well, so when it comes to the Hague and you get punished for, say, like genocide or something like that,
Yeah,
what happens? Do you get
Yeah.
executed or like do you get tortured in the most
No,
heinous way?
I don't even think they do anything. I think you go to jail. I think there's some
Yeah,
kind
but
of
who's enforcing it?
I don't know.
Would it be the
Hague, I
country
guess.
that was the victim of the
Or would it be the
crime?
country that was your representative?
That's a good question. I mean,
Because remember,
Because Mussolini like got handled by his own country, right? Like,
well, yeah, the people hung him. Like
yeah, he didn't went to he
he didn't go to the Geneva Convention.
he didn't go to the
got
Hague. He,
voided.
Yeah,
he didn't get to the Hague, man.
I mean, it doesn't. Who enforces the Geneva Convention? I mean, yeah, it just says that you can do it through your national legal system, or if you can use international dispute resolution mechanisms.
Well, that's why that's why Putin won't leave Russia because he knows as soon as he leaves, he's gonna get arrested.
Yeah, the United States or the United Nations can do it in the international. What is it? The IHL. It's like some kind of court, I guess.
Yeah, international court.
Man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why he won't leave Russia, because he knows he'll get arrested the second he goes onto a country that will be willing to arrest him. That's why he's not going to India for the BRICS meeting.
Man, that should be like a whole spectacle if there's ever a situation where some like maniacal person,
That's the people's court right there.
like that would be fucking wild to like have every country watch this. As if you do this type of shit, motherfucker, we're gonna make a spectacle.
You're gonna die. Yeah, we're gonna
Like,
torture you.
It should be like the worst possible thing. It shouldn't be a hanging, because that's played out.
Yeah, man. No, you know what it should be? It should be the thing where they take the
21
horses and they fucking like
Spread you apart.
Yeah, what the fuck is that called? There's a name for that. But
Or like the what's the thing where they line you up against the wall?
Oh,
and-
firing squad?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's too.
I'm not saying that would be one of them, but
You know, firing squad happens
Oh
so
yeah,
often.
drawing and quartering. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah, drawing and quartering. That's
What's that?
what you should get.
we should do some fucking Middle Ages shit and put them on an Iron
Yeah.
Maiden or something.
Yeah.
We never, the Iron Maiden wasn't actually a torture device. It was completely made up.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, let's make it real and use that as a punishment for fucking people who violate the
It
Geneva
has to be
Convention.
like so. I really think this should be a whole
What's that
spectacle,
fucking,
dude.
What's that fucking, what's it called? Like a stable or something? No. That thing where you sit on it and it slowly splits you in half? Things
Like, is it like a bed and then you?
No, it's like a you sound like
Yeah,
a horse.
it's like drawing and quartering, except it's just a table that does it, right?
No. It's literally, all right, you know those gymnastic things where you do your little,
Oh, the twirly.
yeah.
twirly
Imagine
bar.
one of those,
okay.
but the things like shaped like this into a triangle, and you're sitting on top of it naked,
Oh shit! And then they like slowly push,
and they slowly
down.
pull you down, and shit
Oh,
like that.
Fuck.
All right, you know who needs to be in charge of like the execution of a world leader is whoever did the Saw movies. Whoever
Oh,
wrote,
shit.
whoever did like
Came up with all the execution.
yeah, like he needs to come up with specific, like really ironic shit for how the world leader dies. For like that would be so cool. Well, that's kind of sick, but
Nah, man, that's legit.
you need like we need camera angles, like we need first person view.
Oh, it needs to be like the Hunger Games. There needs to be fucking straight up cameras and an announcer and a fucking, like you said, man,
Yeah.
a spectacle. This needs to be the WrestleMania of the world. Okay,
Yeah.
like that's what it needs.
Commentators from like
to be. Yeah, all around.
We need a Spanish announce table.
Yeah. And someone's going through it.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen by the end of the day.
I don't know. You guys got anything else to add for that?
Nah, that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. What
All
are
right.
we at in
We
time?
did an hour and 11, so that's pretty
All right,
good.
cool.
All right. Well, anyways, if you listen this far, thanks. Hopefully, vote for us to be in charge of the Geneva War Crimes Conventions. We'll definitely fucking take that responsibility. Anyways, yeah, if you like this, subscribe or follow us on Instagram at Game Rage Magazine, and you can go to our website, GameRageMagazine.com. Other than that, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.
That was the latest episode of the Central Unintelligence Podcast. Don't forget, subscribe and like on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine. We're also on Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. Also, our website, www.GameRageMagazine.com.